All right, before we dive in, just the usual quick reminder. This is all for educational and entertainment purposes. Crypto is high risk. This is absolutely not financial advice, and you should always, always do your own research. Welcome, everyone, to the Day 189 health check for the PLAZM protocol. We saw a really interesting day in the markets, a big bounce that, honestly, nobody seems to believe. So we're going to break down exactly how that all affected the protocol's core vitals. Let's just start with the single most important number of the day, 13. That is today's Crypto Fear and Greed Index. It's a state of pure extreme fear. I want you to burn this number into your brain because it gives all the context for everything we're about to see. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to move through 6 quick sections. The market paradox, then we'll look at the protocol's price action, check on the vault and yield health, see what the BBB engine is up to, scan the supply and release radar, and then wrap it all up with our final verdict for Day 189. So let's jump right in. Section 1, the market paradox, and what a paradox it is. We're seeing this massive disconnect between what prices are doing and how the market is feeling. Prices are climbing, but that fear, it is absolutely rampant. And this slide just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you see some really strong moves. ETH is up over 5%, Bitcoin's up 4%, but then you look to the right, and that fear and greed index is just stuck, pinned down at 13. So what does that tell us? It tells us today's balance hasn't convinced anyone. The money might be moving, but people's minds sure haven't changed. All right, Section 2, Protocol Price Action. So with that as the backdrop, let's see how our own native assets, PLAZM and eSHARE, held up in this weird environment. So PLAZM managed a small gain, just under 1%, while eSHARE did a bit better, climbing almost 4%. But the really critical story here is that comparison to ETH. ETH jumps 5.27%, but PLAZM's gain was way smaller. It underperformed by about 4.3%. And that, right there, is classic high fair market behavior. Even on a green day, the smaller assets are still facing some serious selling pressure. Let's move on. Section 3, Vault and Yield Health. It's time to look past the day-to-day price noise and check in on the protocol's real economic engine, the vault, and the yield it's spinning off. And boom, we've hit a pretty significant milestone here. The vault's balance has officially crossed 201 ETH. That's worth over $433,000. This thing keeps growing, fueled by new bond sales and, of course, the rising price of ETH itself. Now let's do a quick vitals check on the engine. And you can see it's chugging along, totally ignoring the market fear. We had 20 new bonds created today. The bond APR is still super strong at over 33% and not generated almost $400 in daily yield for the protocol. But the big one for me? Cumulative claimed profits have now topped $121,000. That's real, tangible value that's been captured and put right back to work. So that brings us to Section 4, the BBB engine. This is the protocol's automated answer to all that market fear. It's a system designed from the ground up to create constant, robotic buying pressure. The logic is actually kind of beautiful in its simplicity. It's just a self-reinforcing loop. Step 1, the protocol earns that yield from the vault. Step 2, it automatically deploys that yield into 3 separate programs. And Step 3, those programs then buy, build, and grow the protocol's assets and liquidity. Simple as that. And this slide really puts some hard numbers on that engine's impact. Just look at that top row. The buy and burn program alone has already deployed almost $74,000 to date, including another $330 today, just to buy up and permanently destroy the token supply. And the other programs, they're just doing their thing, day in and day out, building liquidity and compounding that growth. This is the constant counterforce to all that human fear. Okay, Section 5, Supply and Released Radar. So we've got this consistent, automated buying pressure working for us. Now we've got to look at the other side of the equation, the supply. What's the token supply looking like, and is there any future selling pressure on the horizon? So here's where the PLAZM supply stands today. The key slice of this pie I want you to look at is that 18% labeled burned. That represents over 2.5 million tokens that are gone forever, permanently removed from circulation by that buy and burn engine. And another 28% is locked up in staking and liquidity pools, which cuts down the immediately sellable supply even more. So that's the picture right now. But what about supply that's coming? Is there any big wave of selling pressure on the way from scheduled token releases? Let's check the radar. So we're looking at the release schedule for the next 80 days.
And the radar is completely clear. There are no major token unlocks, no distribution events on the calendar. What this means is that any major pre-planned sell pressure is basically off the table for the foreseeable future.
All right, Section 6, the Day 189 Final Verdict. Let's put all this data together and figure out what the final takeaway is. The takeaway is actually pretty straightforward. Even with extreme fear gripping the rest of the market, the protocol's internal health is solid. The vault is still going, passing that 200 ETH mark. The automated BBB engine is just relentlessly doing its job, acting as that counterforce to fear, and the supply release radar shows nothing but clear skies ahead. The protocol is just operating exactly as it was designed to.
And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. The wider market right now is driven by a very powerful, very volatile human emotion: fear. This protocol, on the other hand, is driven by cold, immutable code. And so the fundamental question is, over the long run, which one of those forces is going to win?
Thank you for joining this daily health check. And one last time, all crypto assets are incredibly speculative. This isn't financial advice, so please make sure to do your own research. We'll see you tomorrow for Day 190.